Good afternoon. Go Keto with Casey here, Casey Durango of Go Keto with Casey, where I like to talk about how I've lost 97.4 pounds since starting the ketogenic protocol and how you might be able to lose weight, improve your health, and regain control of your life. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your Saturday. This is a live broadcast, so if you do not enjoy the live interaction, you might want to pass on to another video. And if you are seeing this and it's not between about noon and about 12:30 or so Eastern Daylight Time on October 26th, then you're seeing this recorded. Hi, hey, Nancy and Joseph, very good to see you. I'm just going to jump on in and talk about the topic of the day. And this really came up because a few days ago I published a video, an old school video, I call them, not live, but a recorded one. And it was just slides of food that we eat around here over the course of some time. And anyone who has paid any attention to any of my videos when it comes to cooking, which is not often, I'm a lazy cook and I like things simple. And so this whole video was essentially a series of pictures of foods that had been prepared in a cast iron skillet, mostly with reserved bacon fat, and it would be pork belly or I don't even remember all the things, eggs, and a few plates. And I got so many comments on that video, like direct ones, like messages to me saying, I find this so helpful. Thank you. I thought, well, let's talk about food. I generally don't like to talk about food because I've been very pleased to get away from thoughts of food. And my suggestion is, let's not make food the center of our lives anymore. I know that it wasn't the center of my life. My family was the center of my life and all that. But food was never far from my thoughts when I was so heavy. And I don't know a way to share a screen to show you before photos or anything, but you can see before photos in my blog, and just before photos is the tab. I was very heavy for a really long time. I'm short and I've lost 97.4 pounds. I'm actually about 115 pounds off of my heaviest. So food, there was a lot of food I consumed. When I started the protocol, which is, as a primer, 20 grams of carbohydrate a day, total, not net, or fewer. 20 grams or fewer a day, total, not net. Eat fatty sources of protein. Don't eat if you're not hungry. Stop when you're satiated. That's it. I mean, that's how I did it. I never did and never have messed with portions of fat and protein, either by ratio or by grams. So I got questions under that video. How do I know that the food is getting the right proportion of fat and protein? Really, if you just eat your protein sources with the fat that comes with them, like how nature packaged it, you'll be okay. It just works out. What does that mean? The easiest example is eat the eggs with the yolks. That'll about give you it's the perfect food. As Dr. Eric Westman has said, eggs are like the perfect food. You can make an entire chicken out of an egg. Poultry with the skin. For years, lots of chicken skin went to waste because we were so afraid of because that's where the fat is in a chicken, in poultry. For the most part, it's in the skin. So eat the chicken with the poultry with the skin. Chuck roast rather than an eye of round. An eye of round is very lean. Chuck roast is all that luscious fat. It's the way it is. It's marbled through and there's, rivulets of fat. Ribeye instead of filet mignon. Pork chops or pork roast with the fat, with the band of fat. Pork belly is fantastic. For those of you who don't know, pork belly is where bacon comes from. And you can buy a full pork belly, which we do around here, and we cut it up into all sorts of different sizes and use it differently. But that just comes that way. So if you just prepare these food, lamb, same thing, lamb with the fat. Help me out here. What protein sources am I missing? But you guys know, so don't worry about doing the calculations. Just eat the fat that comes with it and you'll be okay. This protocol is not about adding lots of fat. It's not the presence of fat that gets us to be a fat burner. It's the absence of carbs. So you will hear, oh, you must get in fat. You must eat the fat to burn the fat. Well, only the fat that comes with the protein, not added fat, not added dietary fat, not bulletproof coffee, not oily coffee, not fat bombs. If those work for you and you like them, awesome. If things stop working so well for you, take a step back and say, am I over consuming dietary fat? Because keep in mind, the ketogenic protocol, all it means is that your body is burning fat for fuel instead of sugar, ketones instead of glucose. That's all it means. It's a fat burning protocol, not a weight loss protocol. You can be full on in ketosis using your blood test strips and your 2.7 beta hydroxybutyrate, and you can put on weight because you can still overeat. If you listen to your body, though, generally, don't eat if you're not hungry and stop when you're satiated. Truly, don't eat if you're not hungry. Then that helps. That's how this happens, is you lose your hunger. And so you consume less fuel. So you lose weight as a rule. It's not an immediate thing for everybody. It is not instantaneous. For me, 47 pounds, it took a year to lose 47 pounds, and I was thrilled. It took 2 years to lose the remaining 50 pounds. I was still thrilled, and I'm thrilled to this moment. I would like to lose 2.6 more pounds so I can say I've lost 100 pounds, but that's vanity, and I like round numbers. So the food again. There is the food list, page 4. Again, if you go to my blog or below this video should be a link to Dr. Westman's official page 4 that he has put his stamp of approval on, and because there are about 1,000 versions of it out there, but this is his page 4. Excuse me. If it's not on there, don't eat it. If you want a good starting place. The cooking of the meals is so simple now, because for the most part, if you see that video, it's whole food. It's fatty sources of protein, pork, ribeye, egg, breakfast sausages. Trying to think fish. Now, fish is not super fatty. Not all fish is fatty, but that's okay. You still get benefit from it, but there are fatty fishes, salmon, others cod and all that. I think that's fatty. So, and then just sometimes a couple of vegetables and maybe some mushrooms thrown into the same skillet. Like, I'm all about the one skillet meal. Reserved bacon fat. You don't have to get special oils or anything. So you cook your bacon. I have a jar right over there right now next to my cooktop. It's a mason jar with a napkin, paper towel sitting over it. And whenever my husband cooks bacon, he just pours the bacon fat into that jar. And then it solidifies and we use it later. You don't have to have vegetables. If you do, they taste delicious, cooked in the same skillet with your burger or your chicken thighs. So the food is really easy. We tend to overcomplicate things. Remember that if you follow this protocol, there are very few foods that require a recipe. Like none. They don't. It's just, one ingredient things, and the ingredient is the name of it, like steak, green beans, cheese. It's these things. So let's try to make it simple. No, there are not nuts on page 4. So guess what? There are no nut flours, no flour substitutes. Personally, for me, I made the decision that I'm not going to try to prepare or eat fake versions of the foods that got me fat in the first place. And not just fat, I was not happy. I was just a misery. So in my head, great life, but I was not happy with myself. So try to keep the meals, the fuel, simple. And then try not to eat by the clock. If it happens to be noon and you're still not hungry, don't eat. If it happens to be breakfast, that's a big fallacy about breakfast being the most important meal of the day. Probably Dr. Kellogg came up with that to sell his cornflakes, I'm guessing. But it's not the most important meal of the day. The most important fuel of the day is whatever you eat when you need it. And your body will tell you. Don't let an app tell you what or when to eat. Our bodies, the original app. I'm going to turn my attention to some comments. I appreciate all of you being here and speaking. First thing I see is, what about pork skins? Listen, if you look at the package, if there are no carbs, not not net carbs, if there are no carbs or very, very low carbs, go for it. The thing about pork rinds are they're not particularly nutritious. If you want to crunch sometimes, and they can be an excellent delivery mechanism for guacamole, but don't overdo the guacamole. An avocado is limited to half an avocado a day because it's calorically dense and carb dense, but has so much nutrition in it that it's a good trade-off. Hey, Monica, how are you doing? It's been a while. Great day to you from Thunder Bay, Canada. Hey, Melissa, I'm from Georgia. Hi from Wales. Simplicity is the word, Marion King. Simplicity is the word. We try to overcomplicate it. Honestly, my opinion, there are people's voices out there who want confusion. They want it to seem confusing and complicated so they can sell you something to make it easy. You don't need to buy one thing to be 100% successful at this protocol. Not one thing. You don't need to buy testing equipment or devices. If they're helpful to you and they're tools that you can use, great. You don't need supplements or special oils. You don't need exogenous ketones. You don't, MCT oil, not on page 4. Again, I share what worked for me and my understanding of the protocol. Do what works for you. But it is simple. Just because it is simple does not mean it's easy. So I bet you there are some people that can. Oh, and puppy, Jack, what is Jack doing? Oh, there's Jack. Hey, Jack, pat, 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 pat. The best dog in the world. He's 9.5 years old. He's totally zen. He's like a canine Xanax. He's a sedative. Keeps me calm. Sherry D writes, I realized that I was not sticking to the original way of keto last week and decided to go back to bulletproof coffee with butter and coconut oil. My skin is softer and I'm no longer thinking of food all day. Good for you, Sherry. But let me warn you about something. There is a lot of fat in bulletproof coffee. And if we are consuming fat by mouth, added fat, and we're burning fat for fuel, our body only requires so much energy for its needs on any given day. If we're consuming it, we don't have to burn it from here. Better to put the butter or the MCT oil or the coconut oil on your face. That's what I'm saying. But you do what works for you. And I'll tell you what, if you just get into ketosis and start burning fat for fuel and burn your onboard fat, you won't think about food all day either. I don't do bulletproof coffee, and I don't think about food all day long. And many people report the same thing. Christy Pierre asks, any advice for not waking up rested in the morning? I would say get better sleep, and that can be a challenge. I find that my sleep is more restorative than it was before. For one thing, I physically can sleep better. I couldn't find a comfortable position when I was so heavy. And if I was in one position, I would snore. And I'm sure I was on my way to sleep apnea and what is that called? CPAP? I know I was on my way to that. But now I can sleep on my back all night. I could sleep on my side if I wanted to. So my sleep is more restorative. I still wake up a couple of times during the night. Sometimes I have to use the facility. Sometimes I just wake up, I shift around, I fall right back asleep. Something good to do. Turn off the glowing screens a couple of hours before you're going to retire. The blue light can be impactful. Get in the darkest room you can. I actually wear eye pillows some nights. And the ones I have, you open your eyes, you cannot see any light. It's just totally black. And about 5 grams of melatonin a night can help some people. Michelle Tamayo writes, thank you. I need this advice today. Thank you. You're most welcome. I'm always happy if something I say or something that someone else shares. There's a lot of collective wisdom here. Keto Queen Lady Baltimore. So what would you eat for lunch? That is so vague a question as I cannot answer it because I don't eat breakfast, lunch, dinner. I eat plates of fuel, and it sounds very precious to say fuel, but there are certain words that are so charged, and we're like lunch, right? I'll eat anything I want, and it might be noon, it might be 3 o'clock, it might be 9 a.m., it might be I don't eat it at all in the middle part of the day. I don't know. I could have a cheeseburger, bunless, of course. I like beef liver. I've been known to cook up some beef liver just for myself. My lovely mate does generally eat 3 times a day, but he has never had a weight issue. He has a physically demanding job. He is very low % body fat. He's muscular. He's active, and he's a wee bit younger than I am. So he eats, and his lunch may be, and I generally make it for him. He comes home for lunch. Might be egg drop soup. I have a video, I think, about making egg drop soup, which is super, super simple. And then at night, we just have, if you see the video on the food, you can kind of see what we eat. A lot of those plates were for him, and I did not eat them. But I don't eat lunch per se. Gina Bear writes, I had no idea menopause was going to be so horrible. I wake up so many times at night. I'm always dragging at work. The next day I'm having anxiety attacks. It's horrible. Gina, I'm sorry to hear you're going through that. Menopause was not horrible for me. I didn't even know I was in it. I haven't had a uterus since I was 30 until my blood test came back. I did have some hot flashes and maybe some moodiness, but I was so moody before I was a fat burner anyway. It would be hard to tell. Ann V writes, I find the only eat when hungry the hardest part. I just had a patron-only live stream, and 2 people said that very thing. And these are pros. It is the hardest part. Sometimes we don't even recognize what actual hunger is, but we are so habituated, right? And like I was saying at the patron-only live stream, we have generational learning that we're supposed to eat 3 meals a day, whether you want or not. What do you mean? You're going to finish your plate, kid. We don't waste food around here. So some of us grew up eating food we didn't even want anymore. And then you become habituated to it. Christy Pierre writes, gracias, al orden, mi amor. And Keto Queen Lady Baltimore writes, oh, so getting up at night is to be expected. Well, that depends on who you are, how you sleep. If you have to use the facilities. And frankly, post-menopause, there's less sleep. And sometimes we find we just need less sleep. We need less sleep. Claudia Lackner writes, thanks to you, I've put away nut flours, etc., and my weight is starting to come down again. Excellent. Yeah, it's funny. We start off very enthusiastic and, page 4, let me get the food list. Let me follow it per se. And then we go, well, I'm going to do this. And there are a lot of channels out there. Here's another suggestion I have. Step away from the food channels, from the cooking channels. If we were recovering alcoholics, we would not watch continual channels about how to concoct fake cocktails. Would we? I hope not. I wouldn't. And I don't watch them. Simple food. Let's not spend all day thinking about food, shopping for food, preparing for food, eating the food, cleaning up, and then starting the whole thing over again in 15 minutes. Let's just find something else to do with our lives other than food. Food is not the boss of me anymore. Oh, hey, Christine. Christine, it's been a while, honey. Got depressed over stroke pain. Ate rubbish. Back on board and lost 15 pounds. Congratulations, Christine. The looming question, can I reverse type 2 diabetes a second time? Yes, absolutely you can. Excuse me, hold please. Jack has decided to channel the late, great Piper. And he's quiet all day until I get on the computer like this, and then he needs to go out. Hold please. I'll just leave the door open. He can come back in when he wants. How do we know when we are post-menopause? Menopause can take a long time, years. You can have your hormones tested, but the knowledge of whether you're pre, or post-menopausal or menopausal, the knowledge of whether you are doesn't really change the symptoms. Monica writes, carb creep is real. This is how people regain. Yes, it is. We just do. And it's easy to do. I do want to give quickly a plug for patreon.com. I do the bulk of my content for patrons. I do about 20 videos a month. And plus there's a patron-only live stream and a patron-only video group session and one-on-ones with me, depending. I do want to say I've got a special promotion going, and I'll talk about this for 8 more seconds, then I'll stop. For all $10 plus patrons, I've already sent out this one. I can and I will. These are cards, and I write a note in the back, send them in an envelope, and I've just taken a delivery of the second one. I'm stronger than a cookie. And I'm sending these out every couple of months and hoping that people will find some inspiration, put them on vision boards or motivation boards, whatever. So that's for all $10 plus patrons, existing ones or new ones, and while supplies last. So thank you to patrons. I appreciate you. Okay. Okay, Sherry D writes, I wish I could, but I have to prep for the upcoming loss of power here in California, I assume. Gosh, what a mess that is. That means all food I have must be prepped, cooked, frozen, and ready to go in the ice chest. New normal in Northern California. I am so sorry. Yep, prep. Heather Silva. Hey, Heather. I attend a weekly crafting group. I'm 58 and the youngest. Seems like all the other ladies only talk about how getting old is so terrible and about all their ailments. They love their carbs. You know what? I'm not going to repeat the story again about how I started all this. It was not to lose weight. I'd given up on losing weight. I'd been really fat for 30 years, perfectly round. Check out the before photos. For 30 years. When I was pregnant with our second child, I put on 60 pounds. He was a 10-pounder, but I didn't lose 10 pounds after him. I just kept putting on weight. Now I was 25 then. I was 55, had given up on losing weight. Got a call from one of my brothers, one of my surviving brothers, that he'd just been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And I was right here at this counter, and I thought, I'm next. I know I'm next. And I feel lousy. Everything hurt. My joints were uncomfortable. I was chronically depressed, even though my life is nearly perfect on the outside. I just didn't want to take insulin for type 2 diabetes. And so I Googled how to not take insulin for type 2 diabetes. I came across Dr. Westman's white coat video. And that day, January 8th, 2014, the next time I put food in my mouth, I just left off the carbs. That's all I did. Nothing more than that. There was something that, oh, okay. Thank you. It was Heather's comment that, because I sat here and I thought, I know that I can be kept alive probably for the next 30, 35, 40 years. But I don't know that I want to, feeling this way. And I was only 55 at the time. I felt so bad. And everything, it was misery. And we have been told, kind of, particularly females, but in general, that as we age, you just get ready for it. It's all downhill after 50 or 45 or whatever the number is. I feel better now at age 61 than I did at 31. And that is no exaggeration. I feel physically better. I certainly can move better. My mood has been regulated. As a rule, I'm pretty happy most days. Whereas before I'd gotten to the point where I was pretty glum most days. So yeah, I have friends. They take 9 pills a day. My age. 9 pills a day for, and they too love their carbs. And some of them don't want to know about a different way. That's totally fine. And we all have to get to where we're going to get, right? We have to meet people where we find them. And some people will never change. The sad thing is, like Christine, yes, why would you can absolutely reverse type 2 diabetes again. It's because it's caused by carbohydrate consumption. So cut out the carbs. My dog does have a sweet face. Thank you, Nancy. Gina Bear writes, I left Southern California in 2008. I moved to South Carolina for 5 years, and I've been in San Antonio, Texas for almost 7 years this coming March, and I've been back to California a few times. Oh, you've been all over the place. Oh, I do want to announce a couple of events that are coming up. Some are free, some are registered, some are the first one I want to talk about is the first, we hope, Dr. Westman's Keto Retreat in Beaufort, North Carolina in January 2020. Again, I think there's a link below to register for it. Dr. Westman, Jackie Eberstein, Amy Berger, me. It's going to be fun. It's going to be relaxed. It's going to be more intimate. There will be music and meet and greets, cocktail parties, maybe some shag lessons. Dr. Westman wants to learn how to shag. He's bringing in musicians. That's going to be great. The first Tuesday of every month, free, the Durham support group meeting, low carb support group meeting at the Durham Hilton near Duke in Durham, North Carolina. Dr. Westman is there. It's the first Tuesday of every month. I'm there and I moderate with him. The second Monday of every month, a Go Keto with Casey meetup, free at Wine Styles at Friendly Center in Greensboro, North Carolina. The third Wednesday of the month, Amy Berger and I are doing Wednesday is Wine Day, which is a live stream where we're both on screen. That's fun, and I haven't made the new one for the registration for that. That is a registered event. What else? Is there something else? The cruise, the Go Keto with Casey cruise. In July of 2020, Dr. Westman, Amy, and Jackie are all going to be there. We're going to have a blast, and we have many people signed up. So just see the link below, and it's going to be great. To Seattle, not to Seattle, an Alaska cruise leaving from Seattle. Okay, enough about that. Sherry D writes, I did keto to see if it worked after my paleo lifestyle got boring and my food cravings were out of control again. I found keto agreed with me, less joint pain all around and no more label reading, right? You don't have to read a label of the ribeye or the green beans or the Brussels sprouts or the chicken thighs. The other good thing, as a rule, the more economical cuts of beef and meat and poultry are the ones we want. Chicken thighs are cheaper than skinless chicken breasts. And they're nice and fatty, dark meat. Oh, they're so good. I now cook ours in the air fryer, which I resisted, and now I really love it. Chuck roast is cheaper than rump roast, I think. Anyway, Marion writes, I'm 75, lost 18 pounds. That's all I needed. I feel amazing. Go swimming. Maybe ladies wouldn't moan about getting older. No cakes to be found. It's just a number. Yep. What's the alternative, right, Marion? Judy Tucker. Hey, Judy. At 67, I can walk again. Went around our hayfield 3 times today. Dang, girl. Everybody I know who went keto went in a cleaning mode. I don't know what that means. Wish I lived closer for the meetup. You know what? There are meetups everywhere. Start your own. If one isn't there for you, start your own. Put a note on a bulletin board. Post something on Facebook. Say, hey, I'm going to be at the Barnes & Noble or the library, the coffee shop. I do it at a wine shop. The first meetup I had in Greensboro was at a pancake house because they had a room that they would let us use. It is no longer there. Oh, they start cleaning their houses like crazy. And Sherry D said, colon cleanse? That's funny. Okay, guys, I'm going to start to wrap this up. Thank you very much for allowing me to be part of your Saturday. Be kind to yourself. Be firm with yourself and be honest with yourself. And remember, this is not complicated. If you're not a cook, that's fine too. I'm a pretty lazy cook. It's not that I'm a lazy cook. It doesn't hold any fascination for me. But you can go to the fast food restaurant for every meal if you want. Just peel off the buns and the English muffins and don't get the hash browns. Get yourself, and several chains will now provide you with a bunless burger. Five Guys, you can get a bacon cheeseburger in a bowl or in a wrap, a lettuce wrap. It's messy, but it's good. I think Hardee's does the same thing. You don't have to be fancy. This is not an elite, expensive way to eat. If you don't like to cook, don't cook. Just leave off the carbs. Right? That's all you do. Leave off the carbs. Look at the food list. If it's not on there, don't eat it. And then accept the fact that you may lose interest in food, which is scary for some people. They don't want to give up their relationship with food. I had a bad relationship with food. It was like a really bad boyfriend. Really mean. And so I was happy to get out of that relationship. Don't be afraid of losing your relationship with food. Use it for how it serves you, and then get on with the rest of your life. Okay? Thank you very much. Really appreciate. Oh, Marion, you're in the UK. Very nice. Sherry writes, my dog is like a bad boyfriend. Oh, that's sad. And Monica writes, yes, eating only when hungry is one of the golden rules. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate you. And I will be signing off. Ciao, Bella. Adios.